Hello, welcome to my channel everybody. I'm Steph. I'm actually an astrophysicist by training. And so as you can imagine, I quite like sciencey and geeky topics. So today I thought I'd show you some of my geeky to be read pile. As usual, all the books will be mentioned in the description below so you can go check them out. First up, we've got A User's Guide to the Brain by John Ratey. And so the blurb at the back of this book says, A User's Guide to the Brain is a remarkable book that shows in what ways the structure and chemistry of our brains determines our perceptions, emotions and behavior, and what we can do to shape its function to our advantage. What does it mean to be linguistically ambidextrous? How does a mother's cradling of her child on her left shoulder relate to the development of language skills? Why does listening to music while doing homework improve accuracy? Dr. John Ratey answers such compelling questions, illustrating his points with vivid and often surprising examples drawn from his own practice, research and everyday life. He also analyzes the ways in which things can go wrong, detailing causes and treatments for conditions such as autism, Parkinson's and Alzheimer's. As Dr. Ratey demonstrates throughout the book, the brain is astonishingly flexible, able to be retrained and reprogrammed. Like a muscle, it responds to use, adapting to new demands and conditions, allowing, as the title of the book suggests, the guidance to the user. So I actually got this book absolute ages ago and started reading it and loved it, but then for some reason put it down and didn't pick it back up again until today. But so I really want to read this book because it sounds absolutely interesting. So this definitely needs to go onto my Geeky TBR. Staying with this theme of language, I also have The Language Instinct by Steven Pinker, which again, I got absolute ages ago, started reading, loved, and then stopped reading. Why do I keep doing that? But so I really need to get into this as well. I vaguely remember there being some things about the structure of language and how grammar allows us to shape our thoughts better, but I'm very, very vague on this, so need to read this again. Or rather, continue reading this. Next up, there's a book that I actually already mentioned in my Edinburgh book haul, and it is From Bacteria to Bach and Back by Daniel C. Dennett, with the subtitle of The Evolution of Minds. And so this book is trying to answer questions such as, what is human consciousness and how did it become possible for our minds to even ask this question? So we're kind of staying on this neuroscience, philosophy, what does it mean to be conscious kind of question. So I'm really interested what he's going to say about this. Next up, there's a book that confuses my camera, which is Jim Al-Khalili's Pathfinders, and somehow my camera keeps trying to focus on his face as opposed to my face. This book has the subtitle, The Golden Age of Arabic Science, and the blurb at the back of the book says, for over 700 years, the international language of science was Arabic. In Pathfinders, Jim Al-Khalili celebrates the forgotten, inspiring pioneers who helped shape our understanding of the world during the golden age of Arabic science, including Iraqi physicist Ibn al-Haytham, who practiced the modern scientific method over half a century before Bacon, Al-Khwarizmi, the greatest mathematician of the medieval world, and Abu Rahan al-Biruni, a Persian polymath to rival Leonardo da Vinci. And I think, particularly in this part of the world, we don't tend to learn a lot about science or the history of science that was developed in other parts of the world. So I'm really, really curious to learn more about this because I don't really think that's fair, because science is such a universal thing that I think we should acknowledge the efforts and discoveries made in other parts of the world too, not just the standard names like Newton or Einstein. Next up, there's a book that was quite influential in my becoming a physicist. I first read this when I was around 13, so quite a while ago. And it is also by Jim Al-Khalili, Black Holes, Wormholes and Time Machines. This is not the book that I read when I was 13 because I didn't actually speak any English then. However, this is a signed copy because I actually met Jim a few years ago at the Institute of Physics in London and he was kind enough to sign this copy for me. Next up, we've got Randall Munroe's What If? Randall Munroe is the creator of XKCD, which if you don't know it, I will link in the description below. This is also a signed copy because my husband and I actually went to see him a few years back at the Royal Society in London, and I absolutely love the blurb at the back of this book. Let me read it to you. Hey, thanks for looking at my book. If you're thinking about buying it, here are some things you might want to know. Humans can't digest the cellulose in paper, but if we could, eating this book would give you around 2,300 calories, including the covers. This book can't stop most bullets. If you want to use it for armor, you may want to buy a lot more than one copy. If you have a good arm, you could probably throw this book around 45 feet. With practice, it's possible to throw a book every 800 milliseconds. Which means that if human attackers are sprinting towards you, you'll have 3 or 4 chances to hit them before they reach you. If, on the other hand, you're being attacked by a coyote, its higher top speed means you'll have only 1 chance to hit it. Aim carefully. The subtitle says, Serious Scientific Answers to Absurd Hypothetical Questions. And this book just sounds absolutely hilarious, so I'm really looking forward to reading this. Next up, there's another one of Randall Munroe's books, which I'll have trouble fitting onto the screen because it's absolutely ginormous. And it is Thing Explainer. Complicated stuff in simple words. So this book, I just love the idea of this. It says, have you ever tried to learn more about some incredible thing only to be frustrated by incomprehensible jargon? Randall Munroe is here to help. In Thing Explainer, he uses line drawings and only the 1,000 or 1,000 most common words to provide simple explanations for some of the most interesting stuff there is, including hot food heating radio boxes, also known as microwaves, tall roads, bridges, computer buildings, data centers, shared space house, the International Space Station, the other worlds around the sun, the solar system, the big flat rocks we live on, tectonic plates, the pieces everything is made of, the periodic table, skyboats with turning wings, helicopters, boxes that make clothes smell better, washing machines and dryers, the bags of stuff inside you, human organs. How do these things work? Where do they come from? What would life be like without them? And what would happen if we opened them up, heated them up, cooled them down, pointed them in a different direction, or even pressed this button? In Thing Explainer, Munroe gives us the answer to these questions and so many more. Funny, interesting, and always understandable, this book is for anyone, from 5 to 105, who has ever wondered how things work and why. So this most definitely needs to go onto my Geeky TBR. And finally, there's a book which I also mentioned in my Edinburgh book haul, and it is Life 3.0 by Max Tegmark, with a subtitle, Being Human in the Age of Artificial Intelligence. And the blurb at the back says that it's trying to address questions like, what happens when humans are no longer the smartest species? And I always wonder about this, the kind of, robot takeover revolution, which honestly I don't quite think will happen, but still, I want to read this. That's all my Geeky TBR books for the moment. However, I am thinking of doing a Geeky books series, so watch this space. See you next week. Bye!